Hi, everybody. Well, September has been crazy busy, so I wasn't able to record another interview or another video. But this time I decided to give you a collection of some really interesting parts from my three previous interviews um, with about mobility with Frederic John, about the batteries and electric vehicles with Wilhelm Graupner, and about remote working and future of workplace with Robert Kropp. So I presented these some really interesting parts about commuting, about business traveling, and basically it's quite amazing how three different people, three different topics, but we really intersected on this one common subject. And here you are, enjoy. Please watch, comment, and share. Thank you very much.
The fundamental structure of cities even have to change at that point.
Sure.
I see, like, this is kind of that transition that no one really had looked at of like was possible, because there had been so many roadblocks and change issues with, like, people are just so resilient to change. Like people in the US like love their cars, right?
Yeah.
And even the people that don't, they still end up commuting at least like half an hour a day, like each way.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about productivity, by eliminating, let's say, an hour a day of commuting at least once a week, some of my family members, an hour each way. So that's 2 hours. Like, that is significant across the board for, pollution issues, other sustainability issues, health. Like, how bad is it for us to just sit and get angry before we get to an office? Because of that, even if you're in public transportation, which right now, that's a significant issue, because how do you social distance? And you're going to wear a mask the entire time. And at that point, you really start questioning of, like, why did we need to go to the office in this way today?
I think when we discuss any kind of solutions to mobility and urban environment, I think we'll need to look longer term. One positive change is that now people have started thinking about exactly the same thing. Why should we all, in a herd, commute into downtown in the morning and commute back in the evening? Why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I agree. It's what we said. Perhaps you just need to go to the office for a few hours to print stuff, to download your files, to meet face-to-face your colleagues, because social interaction will be never replaced. I mean, we are having a nice conversation here through Zoom, but frankly, I would prefer to have a coffee with you face-to-face.
Exactly.
So it will never replace. So I do agree with you. Why do you need to commute at 8 a.m.? Perhaps you just commute at 11, and you go back at 3. You were still at the office, and you saved a lot of time because you are not packed in a underground or bus line or a car that is slowed down due to the traffic.
Assuming a wider spread of electric vehicles, actually, let's turn it around. Looking at the average customer, if I don't drive a petrol electric vehicle at the moment, if I would drive it at the moment, charging speed would probably be of importance for me a few times a year, 10 to 15 times a year, because in my daily commute, in my daily use, even short business trips to customers, I wouldn't charge. I would be charging at home, or I would be charging in the office parking space. So I would probably most likely avoid these stops, which I do now as well. I usually try to, unless the trips are longer, I try to avoid these stops simply for time reasons.
I see.
For efficiency. So I think for the average customer, charging speed is almost irrelevant, except for a few times a year where you have to charge on your way. And of course, then you would like it to be 5 minutes, not even 20, right? But 20 is kind of acceptable. 1 hour is stretching it, unless you can combine it with a lunch and so on.
Good.
At the same time, I have to say for myself, what I do right now quite often, when I take a break for refueling, I combine this very usually without having to, but I do it with a half an hour, 1 hour email break. Just checking email and communication break, which I prefer to do rather than having a crash on the motorway, right? I'd rather do it in a break area.
Yeah, that's right.
Without any need, I still do it at the moment.
I think it's just the echo of the of the 20th century, and we're still living with it. And the issue is, we're with all the technology that we have right now, using that technology and applying it to accommodate that old behavior of having an office in a downtown.
I think you are raising a very interesting point. So we have the working behavior of a professional environment without digital tools, but now we have digitalized our ways of working, but we are still behaving like we don't have this technology. We said we go to the office, we travel to meet a client, and then go back. Well, for example, I remember that. At my company, Command Strategic Advisors, we did trips for just 24 hours. But now, when we think about it, it would not make sense anymore. We would not do that anymore because, we are realizing that Zoom calls are working quite well for this sort of situations. So I think we are now in this very interesting transition phase that we need to adopt new professional behaviors based on the technology that is surrounding us. And we have the new generation, and I consider myself as part of this new generation that is born with these tools.
I do believe that people are working in ways they never thought they would. Many people are working from home, working remotely, and they probably never considered it. I know people in insurance and banking and all this stuff, and they're working from home, and they were like, I'm a manager and we still wear suits to the office. And I had actually had conversations with them 5 months ago, feels like it was 5 months, but I think it was like 8 months. Somehow we're in July. And they were like, we're probably never going to go remote. Like, people might be able to work remote once a month, and that's if they request it. And now it's changed. Like,
if they need to look after their kids, or like they need to do something at home. And there's a very real, like, a bubble has been burst to an extent. But I see it as it's accelerating growth, and there's going to be a transition point from one level to the next, because but it ultimately was around, like, people are very resistant to change. And so I think the most critical aspect right now, that if all, like, the COVID precautions continue much longer, which it kind of looks like we've got at least a number more months ahead. Like, I know hospitality industry is thinking like 12 to 16 months before business travel resumes. The longer this happens, the more normal it becomes. And that's where I think it changes really.